Italy, 71 BC. The gladiator Spartacus has escaped from slavery, built a huge rebel following, and forged a formidable army. The slave rebels have ravaged Italy for 2 years, destroying every Roman army sent to break them. Now Rome has summoned all its might to crush the slave rebellion. The two forces meet in the foothills of the Apennine Mountains. Commanding one of the armies is a team of 4 from Bristol.
Die, die.
Dissecting their every move are 2 military experts. Can Spartacus and his rebels win their freedom, or will they meet a brutal end at the hands of the Roman legions?
Just wait, because in war, nothing ever goes your way.
This is Time Commanders. With Eddie Mayer in our 21st century command centre are a ferryboat crew from Bristol. Rob Salvage, 45, rank General. Elise Hercombe, 23, rank General. Dean Wells, 33, rank Lieutenant. Biddy Diamond, 33, rank Lieutenant.
So you all work in the ferry business, is that right?
Yes.
And hilariously, Rob, you work in the boat business, and your surname is Salvage.
I know. Everybody has a real good laugh about that.
Except here. Never mind. Elise, I believe you know everything there is to know about Bristol Harbour.
I did loads of research for handheld computer tours around the harbour.
Handheld computer tours around the harbour? Do
Yeah,
people no
it's just
longer
a
look at the
project.
view anymore? They have to...
Oh no, they have to do that as well. It's just
Right.
a pilot project.
Sickening, isn't it? Dean, you've got some handy skills. You've meditated with Tibetan monks.
I have, yes. Yeah.
And you've been swimming
In
with
Tibet.
alligators in the Amazon.
Yeah, I've been around Asia for 10 months, and last year just came back from South America.
Well, why do you hate Bristol so much?
It's slightly warmer and nicer scuba diving on the Colombian coast.
Right.
But Bristol's nice.
And how are you involved in all this?
I started off crewing, and I now skipper the boats as well.
And not many women do that in this country.
No.
do they? It's not a man's job or anything, is it?
No, God, no. No. Women are much better drivers of boats than men.
OK, well, good luck. Let's find out more about the battle you're going to be fighting. Our 2 historical experts, Sol and Eric, are down here. They've been checking everything that you're about to see for historical accuracy.
Dr. Eric Nussbacher, Senior Lecturer in War Studies, Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst. Dr. Saul David, Military Historian and author.
We're safely in their hands as they reveal to you the task that lies ahead. Brace yourself.
South Italy, Battle of the River Silarus, which probably doesn't mean much to you, but the name of the generals will. It's 71 BC, and it's fought between the slave armies of Spartacus and the Roman armies of Crassus. And you're going to be the gladiators.
So you guys are going to be playing a bunch of slaves coming up against a huge mechanical killing machine that is going to do its best to turn you all into bloody little ribbons. But you are confident because every time you've met a Roman army in the past, you've defeated it. The problem is that the Romans now take you very seriously, and 3 big Roman armies are coming at you from 3 different directions. And you've got to fight these 3 big armies one at a time in order to survive. As escaped slaves, any of you guys who are caught are going to be killed.
All right, so Eric, thank you. Go to your gantry positions if you would, and they're going to watch your every move, see how well or badly you do. The Battle of Silarus River, 71 BC. You're in charge of the slaves, and unlike them, you've got all sorts of extra help. I'm going to show you now the battleground. Have a look.
Spartacus and his 70,000-strong slave army are mustered on top of a steep hill. To their right runs the river Silarus, and beyond that lie the Apennine Mountains. Across a wide valley are 44,000 Romans, led by Marcus Licinius Crassus. One of these armies is going to have to sacrifice the advantage of the high ground.
There we are. What do you see?
It's obviously the river going through there, isn't it? So you've got the hill here and there, and the valley coming through there.
Is it?
You've been there, Steve?
It's one place I haven't been,
Give
actually.
a dab hand with the contour lines.
Yeah.
The team have got two choices with this ground. They can either stay on the high ground and wait for the Romans to march up the hill, exhaust themselves up on the way, and hopefully take them when they're tired, or they can actually use the initiative. The problem they've got is because they know two other Roman armies are on their way, they've got to be aggressive, and therefore they've almost certainly got to come off the hill, and if they do that, they give the Romans a good chance of cutting them up in the plain.
We're both in here.
With,
Are you planning a ferry crossing already?
Well, I was just thinking about that. This would be
You're
nice.
always
wouldn't
running
it?
out of the business,
Pick
aren't
people
you?
up here, take them down there.
It's lovely.
Put a little cafe on the side. Beautiful. All right, hang on. Can we go up? Can we go left up here to see what the ground is like there? Does that matter? It looks very kind of rocky and difficult.
might trip
Yes.
up, might stub a toe.
Whereas the hills are nice and green, aren't they? Might even be a bit marshy, I suppose.
So there's trees sort of over there, isn't there?
Because there's always rocks and trees.
That's it, so that's the rocks over that side.
So we can use the land to
Well, we need to be able to
try
get
and
behind,
get
don't we?
round.
Okay, I think you've got the thrust of the land by now.
Yes.
You want to know a bit more about your troops. Let's do that now.
Okay.
Dean and Biddy can now inspect their troops. The lieutenants must quickly become familiar with the complex slave army and relay information about troop types and capabilities to their generals. Rob and Elise must get their head around how best to use their troops. And it'll be a tough challenge. There are many different types of troops in their 70,000 strong army, which is spread out across the hill.
They have a big army, but a lot of this army is not going to be that effective in battle. What they need to do at the moment, as they're beginning to gather information about their troops, is identify pretty quickly what's worth using in this army in an offensive and aggressive way. And the two elements that genuinely are in that sense are the gladiators and the tribesmen. They've got people who are used to fighting in a mass rush. If they use these two in conjunction and they fix on a relatively small part of the Roman army, they may have some success.
What sort of fighters have we got, Dean?
Okay, right at the bottom of the hill, we have 4 units of tribal warriors.
The tribal warriors from Gaul are escaped slaves, kitted out in their native tribal dress and weapons.
Spartacus's tribal barbarians may not be good at standing in a line, and very good at killing people.
So we've got 4 units of
We have
tribal
4
warriors.
units at the front, at the bottom of the hill. Just behind them, there's 1 unit of Gaelic skirmishers. They carry in javelins.
So what have you got, Biddy?
I'm on the other side from Dean.
Closest to the river?
I'm closest to the river.
Okay.
On the closest side to the river, I've got light cavalry in the front. Behind the light cavalry is 4 groups of gladiators. 4 big groups of gladiators.
The gladiator element, that hardcore of Spartacus's army, are professional fighters. They are trained to be creative with their weapons, to use their weapons in innovative ways, and to take advantage of the weakness of others.
The slave rebellion kicked off when over 70 slave gladiators broke out of a training school in southern Italy. Over the next 2 years, almost 100,000 escaped slaves and peasants joined the gladiator cause.
I've got my archers at the front, and then I've got skirmishers. They're kind of hit and run kind of types.
Hit and run guys.
Javelins and that. And then behind, did you get behind the skirmishers are 8 legions. They've got javelins and they've got daggers.
After defeating previous Roman armies, some slaves armed themselves with captured legionary equipment. These slave legionaries in blue are well armed but not as highly disciplined as the Romans on the opposite hill.
Do you want some more information about these troops on here? The Gaelic skirmishers were one part of that formation of 4 in the centre there. The other 3 are Thracian warbands, and they carry spears.
Like the tribal warriors, the Thracian warband are rebel slaves who are dressed and armed in the tradition of their homeland, Thrace, in northern Greece. They have no armour and fight with spears. Weak in close combat, they are best used as skirmishers.
The third formation of 4 behind them, they're just the peasants. and they're just carrying knives.
Okay.
And in the middle of that are the generals.
Commanding the slave army is escaped gladiator Spartacus. Unlike Kirk Douglas in the classic Hollywood movie, the real Spartacus was most likely equipped with captured Roman armor.
The slave leader Spartacus came from Thrace. He'd either fought in the Roman army or fought against it. One thing's for sure, he had a knowledge of Roman infantry tactics, and this almost certainly enabled him to defeat the earlier Roman armies. His big problem is he's facing a much bigger Roman army than he ever has before.
All right, that's you done. Okay. Well done. If you come back up, lieutenants, we'll...
Is that right?
Just check we've got everything right.
This is the team's only chance to find out about their enemy. They face a Roman army of 38,000 legionaries, 2,000 slingers and archers, and 4,000 cavalry. Spartacus must win, and win well. Just a few days' march away is a second Roman army, and a few weeks away is a third. Both these armies are on their way to ensure the rebellion is crushed. Lieutenant Dean orders his scouts across the valley to take a good look at the Romans. It's crucial that he gets his scouts in close enough to the enemy to discover their fighting capabilities.
I'm just sending them straight forward, is that okay?
Don't we want to try and protect them a bit?
Okay,
Scouts, just get rid of them, isn't it? Just send them in. If they die, basically.
You don't think better to send them round the top and have a good look from the hill up here?
I reckon they should go up there.
Team are already showing a bit of initiative. They've sent their scouts off to check out the other army. They've actually gone on to high ground to the side of the Roman position, which is quite a clever way to do it, because basically they're protected, but they can also see.
Do they need to go in a bit closer?
Should we go along the top of the ridge?
Come on, make a decision.
Okay, well, where are we? We are along here, so these are horses, yeah?
But nobody in this crew wants to take the helm. Skipper Rob is more interested in striking out alone. He turns his back to the screen and starts guessing the makeup of the enemy army without information from either his scouts or his lieutenant. Behind his back, Dean continues scouting.
See those long rows? They're the cavalry.
They're all the cavalry, those long ones at the back.
But we can't find them. We're too far away to actually find out sort of any further information.
Probably the biggest weakness of Spartacus's army is that he doesn't have much cavalry. The Romans do. It's very effective cavalry. These guys are heavily armoured and they can move in a shock wave at any particular point of the enemy attack.
Should we go around the back and come in from the back of them? Because we've got to get closer because we can't see any.
You want to move your
Go around the back and go into these trees. And where the trees are quite high ground, so they'll get a good view, yeah?
They're still going to be too far away to get any information back there.
As close as you can without getting killed.
We need to find out who's who, so just get them in there.
Okay, they've just seen us. So
They've seen us today.
You've seen the scouts?
Yeah.
Dean's scouts are in trouble. They've been spotted by a unit of Roman cavalry. The team are discovering the hard way that the Roman cavalry can be deadly. With their scouts massacred, they've squandered their only chance to find out any more. And they know almost nothing about the Roman army.
So what do we have? Oh, we don't have this, do we?
No, they've gone now. Throw them away.
Rob has done a pretty good job of estimating the positions of the Romans, but the team have no detailed knowledge of their enemy, least of all the 38,000 disciplined legionaries.
The legion was made up of cohorts, 10 cohorts in every legion, each one with about 480 men. Each cohort was a self-sufficient tactical unit, and that meant that if the legion had to fight in another direction, if it had to be broken up for different duties, it was very, very flexible. A cohort legion was like a brick-built structure with really hard, fire-hardened bricks making it up.
And these cohort legions are led by a ruthlessly ambitious general, Marcus Licinius Crassus.
Crassus, the Roman general, ambitious man, rich man as he is, he's relatively inexperienced in military terms. He has fought previously, but he is not used to fighting an army of this type, and he probably suffers from that great weakness of all generals, overconfidence.
The team could have discovered this vital intelligence about their enemy if they hadn't been so careless. They are now at a serious disadvantage as they start to discuss their battle plan.
I suppose
this is high ground here, and you can almost shove them into the water there by taking it and attacking them from this side. So this is all high ground. They'd be going downhill, and also they've got the water behind them.
Be good to use
Yeah,
the
it's
water.
good
And so
to
it'd be
use
good to use the water.
I'm sure the water's key to it, actually, because it wouldn't have ended up here in this geography if the water wasn't a factor.
So we don't want them to get higher than us. So if we go down into the valley, that's just going to be no good whatsoever.
They're going to be coming towards us, so they're going to be maybe further
So
down.
I'm saying we can move round the hill.
Because their cavalry's on
Take
that
them
side,
round
and
that
it
way.
means...
So we're attacking
But then they're going to come around that way.
from that way down there, shoving them back towards the
So
river.
maybe
you're
we
going to
can-
run round to this hill, and they're going to run round to this hill.
That's probably what will happen. They'll run out of the way.
What I think is we use this lot to defend the hill.
So we're actually
think that's-
protecting this hill a little bit,
Cool.
but we're attacking them
I
from the
think
back
that's it.
mainly.
So we're
think that's
basically
roughly
doing
it.
this with them.
The river is a pretty obvious obstacle there, but I don't like the idea of dividing their force in the face of the enemy. If the Romans could get between two pieces of the team's army, the Romans could then fight half of their army, win, and go fight the other half of their army.
Indulge me. Using these sticks into coloured blocks, show me the plan. And it'll help you if you have a look at it. Have someone's eye out with that. You're not getting that back.
You see with the pool key.
These are light cavalry and these are legions. I'll go around
so we
here
go
with Rob.
fight, meow,
go there,
meow,
Nick?
kill, dead, all dead.
Dead. Okay.
This is a bit of a new departure. The team are not only setting out their troops in the way they're going to go into battle, but they're actually moving them right up against the opposition troops and trying to show us how the battle's going to happen after the initial engagement begins. It's quite a clever form of wargaming.
It's not really shoving them down from the hill, though, is it? Where we said that's us.
No, they're supposed to be coming behind here.
Some of them, okay, in and
So we need a
around.
few more people from behind.
Killing the
surely.
cavalry.
In and around behind.
Die.
So they fall over, they die, they go into the valley.
This is dead.
These guys,
No, these are going forward because they're those.
But then we've got to make sure there's someone coming
More
in
people
here.
go around that way.
I reckon should stay up, and when they come in,
Yeah, when
to
they
push
come
them
in.
into the water at the last minute kind of thing.
Stay about there.
it looks a bit untidy, but eventually
If they think that 8 Roman legions are going to be driven into the water by a rabble of
Rowdy rebels.
rowdy rebels, they got another thing coming.
they're pushed round down into the valley.
Yeah.
No, that's the hill.
We definitely don't want to get forced into the valley.
All right.
Okay, what do you think? We're already having our own battle.
Well, that's clear.
The team's battle plan is based on a simple idea. They want to steer 44,000 Romans into the river Silarus. They plan to defend the hill, entice the Romans into the valley, and send their tribal warriors to outflank the enemy right and drive them towards the river. But could splitting their forces be a mistake? And will the Romans be good enough to behave as the team want them to? As the ferryboat team start to deploy their troops, they may find themselves all at sea.
The team have based a complex and ambitious plan on the idea that everything will go their way. But just wait, because in war, nothing ever goes your way.
71 BC. The gladiator general Spartacus, in captured Roman armor, leads 70,000 slaves against 44,000 of the most feared soldiers in the Western world, the Roman legions. Spartacus and his rebels are fighting for their freedom and their lives. They must win this battle or face certain death. A ferryboat crew from Bristol command the slave army. They have a bold plan dominated by the single objective of driving the Romans into the river Silarus.
Die.
It's now all hands on deck for deployment.
All right, you're going to get even more help now.
Okay.
Much more help than they had for the real battle. Here is a real-time satellite view of the battlefield.
Right.
As you can see, here are the slaves,
Yes.
Romans,
Yes.
and where do you want to be for the start of battle?
Where do you want to be? Biddy, those 8 at the back.
Yeah.
Try and form some kind of...
I was going to split them and move 4 of them so they're filling in that gap, so they're in a line rather than a long line behind. They're in a line looking down towards the plain.
But we should have like one in layers of 2, otherwise
Yeah.
if they get penetrated, then
Yeah.
just go double.
Rob, do you want me to start sending the tribesmen round the side of the hill?
Well, they all need to be starting to move, don't they? They don't want to be staying up
Should
on
we
the
start
hill.
moving the whole lot
Yeah.
a little bit further round,
Yes.
round the valley sort of thing,
Yeah.
towards the back, yeah?
Dean sends his tribal warriors forward, with orders to march to the hill opposite into position to outflank the Roman right.
The team's plan involves dividing their army up into two roughly equal parts, one comparatively strong, one comparatively weak, but two big parts. Their plan has no main effort. They're going to try to do two things at once.
And the peasants at the back we're not worried about, are we? They're going forward.
Yes, they're just going to go forward and get in there, and we don't mind that probably even if we lose some of them.
The team are absolutely right to think that some of their troops are expendable. They are, because they're not actually that effective.
But they can't afford to waste them. Spartacus has got to fight 3 battles against 3 Roman armies with what's on the field there. He can spend wisely to achieve his tactical aims today, but he cannot waste one single person.
So I put the legions in 2s, but in a line going that way, parallel to the plain.
But not too far over, because if we want to try and keep on pushing them towards the water.
On the right flank, Biddy gets her troops moving. She orders 8 units of slaves dressed in captured Roman armor to deploy to the center of the hill in 2 lines.
Dean, your guys want to be going forward across the sort of head of the valley.
So the tribal warriors, they're the ones at the front.
Yeah.
I've sent them round to the far side. You want me to start heading them towards?
Yes, but they're going a bit too far up the valley. They want to be heading towards them.
Now, yeah?
The team have sent some of their tribal warriors up against the toughest part of the Roman army. In every cohort, the best soldiers are in the front and on the right. In every legion, the best and biggest cohort is at the front on the right. So they're sending their tribal warriors against the hardest part of the Roman army.
While the lieutenants get on with the business of deployment, the generals begin to wonder for the first time what the Roman strategy might be.
I think one of the things I was thinking about, which I picked up early on, is this point about the 2 other armies are on their way, but Marcus Crassus wants a quick confrontation.
Right.
Right? So
they're going to really come at us really, really quickly.
yes.
Okay.
And that's maybe a misjudgment on his part. He should
They're
probably
going to be
have
really
waited.
tired. We should wait for them to come to us and then push them down, because they're going to be really tired by the time they get to us.
The thing is that if there was just that one Roman army out there, maybe it would be useful for them to stay on the high ground and ask the Romans to come up to them. But there are 2 more Roman armies out there, and if they delay here, if they stop to defend, then they run the risk of having to fight 3 Roman armies at the same time.
But while the team have sent their tribal warriors across the valley, they've opted to deploy most of their troops defensively on the hill.
Are you not worried that your plan is rubbish?
I think once you have a plan, you have to believe in it.
I'm honestly confused as to whether you're attacking or defending. Are you planning to move down the hill? Because Elise doesn't seem to want you to.
Elise, let's just have a little confab a minute.
Okay.
Are we waiting for them to come to us, or are we going to push towards them and provoke them into it?
I think we should, because if they want a confrontation straight away, it might be a good idea to get some of our troops down there at the front so they
All right.
get a shot.
Do that then if you want.
Do you think?
But the problem is...
But we want to bring them down from the hill.
Because
if we... So maybe we should send someone attacking, because they'll see us attacking and they'll come forward.
With the generals apparently unwilling to make decisions, Biddy is just getting on with the job. She deploys the gladiators, her crack troops, behind her slave legionaries in the center, and is even thinking about how she can help Dean's flanking forces.
Can I speak to a general, please?
Yeah.
Do you think Dean needs support from any of the legions? Because I've got 8, lots of people with
It's starting to
javelins.
look a bit lonely on that side if they keep moving round, so I think Biddy's troops should come up
I've got all mine lined up.
beside me in a way as well.
If we have some backup here, that'd be a good idea.
Elise is talking a lot of sense. We were actually quite worried that this flanking attack was going to be left to go in on its own, but she's made the quite obvious point that if it does, the Romans are simply going to turn and wipe it out. Either they've got to support it or not launch it in the first place.
The team order their Thracian spearmen and 2 units of slave legionaries off the hill to support Dean's flanking forces on the left. But will they arrive too late to help?
As they're starting to move here, Dean, you're going to need to get ready to engage these guys in combat.
The Roman cavalry spot 2 units of the team's tribal warriors and decide to attack. But the team are 1 step ahead. A 3rd unit of tribal warriors is already behind enemy lines, hidden by the hill, in a perfect position to encircle the Romans. After letting fly a volley of javelins, the Roman cavalry turn away from the tribal warriors' main charge. But their retreat is cut off. When the tribal warriors unite, the Roman cavalry are surrounded. The team's flanking maneuver has paid quick dividends.
Keep them going, that's fine, Dean. Keep going, keep
Well, I
attacking
think
them.
we should be sending some of these troops into
All
them,
right.
because otherwise...
I agree.
Can I just point out that the whole of the rest of the Roman army are actually moving towards me now.
Okay.
They're coming down their hill a bit towards the plain.
The Roman general Crassus is in no mood to wait. He's coming to crush Spartacus and his slave rebellion before two other Roman armies arrive to steal his glory.
All right, so while the team is fixated on this pointless little action on the Roman right, the Roman army has decided that they really don't care about the minor advantage of that slope, and the Roman army is starting to move down into the valley.
The Romans have caught the team by surprise. Crassus and his 44,000-strong army have chosen to leave their high ground and take the fight to the slaves. The team's Thracians and tribal warriors have been left way behind enemy lines on the hill, and the two units of slave legionaries who were sent to support them are now marching in the wrong direction away from the action. As the Roman advance continues, the team will need to adapt their plan.
Now, Dean, these guys here,
Yeah, the Thracian
right,
ones at
they
the
need
back.
to be coming along here and
okay.
starting to attack
Everything
this flank
moving
here.
down now. Yeah.
Get them
okay.
over there as quickly as
So
they
you
can.
Keep going down.
The rest of your
That's it.
tribal warriors, get them to come
across as well.
Across as well, behind them.
They've allowed themselves to be caught on the hop because they became fixated with their plan and assumed that everything would go according to plan.
When they were wargaming earlier on, they were moving their blocks and the Romans were staying still. What happens in reality is that Romans have their own plan.
That's right.
So do you want me to go
You're
start
not
pushing?
moving at all yet. Is
No.
No, okay, I think
We're doing it now.
we should be moving forward and sort of pushing them towards
Can
the
I
water.
start moving the legions sort of here, here and here?
Time is running out for the team. Crassus is driving his legions forward, determined to crush Spartacus and his slave rebellion quickly. Most of the team's troops are still deployed defensively on the hill, but Biddy has taken matters into her own hands. She's ordered her slave legionaries forward to meet the Roman advance. And General Elise has finally noticed that on the left side of the field, the Romans are almost upon them.
Dean, you need to be thinking about what your other troops are doing, because they're going to be attacked from the front in a minute.
A unit of Roman cavalry break away and charge Dean's peasants on the team's left flank.
Ah, they're coming up towards us.
Right, we've got to attack these guys here because they're going to really start causing a problem.
Rob seems to know what he wants his troops to do, but is not communicating orders to his lieutenants effectively. Crassus's aggressive tactics have left the team dazed and confused.
I think they're going to come around the corner at me, aren't they? And they're going to push. They're pushing up the hill. We need to get them. I don't know what you want me to do.
Biddy, fortunately, has spotted the danger. She's noticed that the Roman army inexorably is about to outflank her slave army on their right side. They need to move troops there to combat them. They've still got their best troops in reserve, and they probably should use the gladiators to do it.
General, can I just fire some arrows at them, just to kill some of them, please? I would like you to shoot the nearest guys, which are those ones. Shoot them.
Desperate to do something, Biddy sets her archers onto the Romans. But arrows are not enough. They have little effect on the heavily armoured legionaries. She needs to get her best troops, her gladiators, into battle, and fast.
One of the problems with the way the teams fought the battle is they haven't taken the initiative. They had a plan, they were putting it into operation very slowly, but they've allowed the Romans to actually come to them. Only now are they being forced to fight, not on their own terms.
The Romans are not letting the advantage of surprise slip away. On Dean's side, they're closing in, while the team look on, bewildered.
What are they doing? I don't understand what they're doing.
Are you confused, Elise?
Yeah, I am really confused.
The Roman legions are doing what Roman legions do. They're coming to kill them.
A Roman legionary army is like a powered buzzsaw. It will chew up anything you feed into it and spit it out as sawdust the other end.
While the Romans chew through the team's front line, their tribal warriors and Thracians far behind enemy lines are now finally ordered back towards battle. But the slave legionaries at the head of the valley are still stranded, a long hike from the action.
Dean, we've got some up here at the head of the valley. They all need to be pushing down this way. They're sort of wandering around.
Everything we've got then, if they can just start shoving down the valley now. With the Thracian warband, do you want me to go in now? Down the bottom of the valley now?
Yes.
We need to fill up that gap.
Yeah?
While the team are talking, the Romans are fighting. They've actually engaged them, and I'm not even sure the team have noticed, and they better notice soon, otherwise they're going to push straight through their front ranks and into their rear.
Dean's peasants are fighting for their lives against the Roman front line, desperate for support. He sends his Thracians to help his peasants, but they're cut off by Roman legionaries who form a second line at the bottom of the hill. Without support, the Thracian spearmen will find the heavily armed Roman legionaries a tough opponent. Dean's tribal warriors are in a perfect position to envelop the Romans, but he does not want to engage them, stopping just short of the Roman second line.
The tribal warriors that are lined up on the bottom of the hill, leave them there for the minute, yeah?
These guys here.
Back up.
I would have thought they should be. I would have thought they should come in and start squashing these guys here. Bring him in, Dean.
But it's too late for Dean's Thracian spearmen, who are being routed. Although his 2 units of slave legionaries are at last moving in the right direction, they have a long way to go. The battle for Spartacus's left flank hangs in the balance. Over on the other end of the hill, Biddy's elite gladiators are finally attacking. In fact, Biddy's troops are taking it to the Romans in separate fights all over her side of the battlefield. Biddy controls the team's hardest troops, but they're fragmented, spread out across the hill, fighting for their freedom and their very survival.
On the slave right, the gladiators are holding their own against the Roman legionaries, even though they're outnumbered. The problem is that those Romans are not going to stop. The Romans are going to keep coming, and when these Romans are dead,
Some more here.
there are plenty more where those came from. If you look at the generals have not got that big screen of theirs taking the big picture.
Exactly.
That big screen of theirs is focused on the slaves' own left.
That's the problem.
Dean, look at the screen. See that troops there? They're running away. Can you turn them round?
These ones here. Oh, we can't turn them round.
Oh, right. They're running away.
Yeah,
I think they're just running away.
Dean's Thracians might be running away, but his slave legionaries have finally made it across the valley. Together with the tribal warriors, they pile into the Roman right. The Romans retreat in the face of the fierce slave onslaught, but they reform to create a new front line. The 2 forces meet in a titanic clash.
I've got a load of people turning around getting your guys, but you've got your general just sat there, and he could come in round from behind and
Just send the general and anyone that's spare, just send them in.
The team send in Spartacus himself to fight alongside his men. Dean has finally united all his forces against the Roman right, but his dawdling has cost the team dearly. Many of his peasants and tribesmen have been killed. Even so, the team's daring tactic of attacking the toughest part of the Roman army is finally paying off.
The team have succeeded in enveloping the Roman right flank, and the Roman right flank is being cut to ribbons.
This is going all right over here, actually. I think we're still keeping our numbers here.
Are you winning here?
No, probably not.
Biddy is making a pig's ear of the right wing of her army.
On the team's right, the slaves have been outflanked by the Romans. Lieutenant Biddy reacted quickly, ordering in her toughest troops, the gladiators. But she spread them out across the hill, and overwhelmed by superior Roman numbers, they're retreating. And her slave legionaries in the center of the field are engulfed by Romans.
Yeah,
How did that happen? Was that the plan you wanted?
I think the plan worked pretty well,
worked.
yeah. I think the plan worked.
The trouble is, you end up, because of a little skirmish, which is what you've got to avoid, I guess, as a general, you get sort of freaked out by, oh my God, somebody's been killed, and you can't be like that. But the basic plan, I think, kind of worked.
And lieutenants, were you well served by your generals? Did you?
I felt I was a little bit on my own for a while, to be honest, because they were discussing
sometimes said, "Oh, these people here."
Yeah, sorry.
It's very difficult.
Let's get the official verdict on how you did, shall we? Do you want to know what Eric and Saul have been thinking?
Yeah.
Come on down, gentlemen.
They must be happy with that, surely.
Well, we'll see. Saul and Eric. Tell us, do.
When we heard the plan, we were a bit worried. And the reason we were worried is because you were planning to dissipate your army by marching half of it off all the way around the side. And what you probably didn't realize is that the Romans don't mind that. They can adjust their tactical shape to take on a flanking attack. That's no problem. It is a problem for you because it's dissipating your force, it's weakening your overall front. You were brilliant at reacting to the circumstances of the Romans taking the initiative. I thought if you let the Romans come to you, you were going to be mashed. What actually happened was you were mashed, but only on one side. That was Biddy's side. And I'm not sure whether or not that was your fault, Biddy, or whether or not too much of the weight had actually been taken over to the other side. But what you did brilliantly all along the line, and what won the battle for you, is react to the situation, so that when you eventually all met in the center, you had more of your best troops left than they did. Their elite had been cut to pieces on that side, and they had their weaker troops left, and you mopped them up at the end.
Eric, short of using a cruise missile, could they have done any better?
They lost. The slave rebellion is over. You guys killed enough of your own guys with your not very good plan that you stuck to. Yeah, that was great. Top marks for sticking to your plan. Top marks for getting all your friends killed. Because at the end of the day, you guys have not got enough left to fight the next Roman army coming down the road. A few more victories like this, you're all dead. It's a Pyrrhic victory.
That's next week's program.
These guys, they're going home tonight.
That's right, short-termism. Short-termism.
What should we have done?
Well, this is the thing. The different battles in history, some we know a great deal about, some we don't. This is one of those that we're not too clear on, is that right?
It's a problematical battle, this, because although it's fought against the Romans, and on the whole, Roman battles were well chronicled, this one wasn't. It may be because it's against slaves and they didn't take it that seriously, but we have very little information as to what actually happened. And so what we're going to show you is how we think the slaves should have fought against the way Romans would have fought. Okay, now the slave army is in desperate straits. It's been caught by a Roman army in a position it can't get out from. It's got to fight its way out, and it knows, or it should know from intelligence, that 2 more Roman armies are on the way. It's got no option but to fight. But it's up against an army that it knows is very effective if you take it on head on, which is, to be fair, what you recognize, which is why you tried your flanking attack. What this army almost certainly wouldn't do is dissipate its forces over a wide area. It would concentrate its best troops on the right. Why? Because the Roman army is always weakest on its left. They know about Roman tactics, and their best chance is to put most of their weight on their right flank, take the Romans in their weak flank, and hope to disrupt it enough so that they can actually either break through with all of the army or at least a part of it. And so they would advance pretty much like this, down the hill, taking the initiative and crashing with their heavy right flank into the Roman left.
The initiative is far more important to Spartacus, who has got to defeat this army right away, than the slope. The fact that there's a bit of a hill here, you guys are really worried about that, doesn't matter. And getting hit by that slave army does not matter to this Roman army. The Roman armies are always big mechanical killing machines, very well trained to drive forward. Whatever you do, maybe it's clever, maybe it's dim, they're going to move forward and kill your guys.
You see, for a time, we suspect that the Spartan right has some success. It drives into the left and it probably disrupts the Romans for a time. These guys are their weaker troops, and what they're really doing is pinning the Romans, but they're probably not killing that many.
So the Romans just form a second front. We've seen them do it before, and the Romans kill you in this direction, the Romans kill you in this direction, until ultimately either you're all dead, or alternatively you give up and go home. Worst case for the Romans, they're all dead. That's okay, there are 2 more Roman armies coming down the road to finish you off.
Unlike the film, Spartacus did not survive this battle. He was killed with most of his men. Some of them did, and Eric will tell you what finally happened to them.
About 6,000 or 7,000 of the slave army were crucified along the Via Appia, and that was a common punishment for rebellious slaves. And in this case, it was just a mass execution. Just nail them up, let them suffer and die for a few days. In the end, Spartacus's slave rebellion was destroyed utterly.
Spartacus and his slave rebels lost the real battle at the river Silarus. The Roman legions cut the slaves to pieces, and Spartacus's body was never found. The slave rebellion had been brutally crushed. Rome prospered, and within 50 years ruled most of Europe. As its empire expanded, so did the Roman public's thirst for ever more extravagant and bloodthirsty gladiatorial spectacles.
Well done. You had a successful plan, if slightly unconventional, well executed, and best of all, you seem to manage to upset Eric, which is great. Well done. Congratulations. That was a good victory. Well done.
To test your knowledge of Roman emperors, Sky Digital Viewers press red. People's Century Next recalls the fundamentalist revival triggered by the Ayatollah Khomeini in 1979.